Okay, this might be my last video filmed in this house on this YouTube channel. And I'm doing some work. I'm doing work up in my loft because I need all of this stuff out of my loft because I have a cleaner coming tomorrow. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do a chatty work with me. I thought I would never do another one of these, but there's some fun topics. One being why I don't really believe in reselling anymore, at least for me as like an income. To the Poshmark fee changes. What are you doing? What are you doing? I didn't even turn you on. Oh my gosh. To Poshmark fee changes. I just found out about it literally this morning because someone asked me how I felt about it. So I thought I'd share my opinion on that. And then at the end, personal, the last 15 minutes, I will talk about moving update since there were some pretty strong opinions from my last update. And I thought I would clarify some things, hopefully to be helpful. So this is gonna be a jam-packed little chatty work with me. I'm gonna set the timer for 45 minutes. 45. Okay, I'm just gonna jump right in. So I have these big trash bags that I am using. A lot of this stuff up here is, I store shoes. I have unlisted inventory on this rack. I also have unlisted inventory on that rack over there. And so I'm gonna kind of do separate bags. One donate bag of stuff maybe unlisted that I'm like, this is not, I'm just not gonna list it, whatever. Two is gonna be, I'm gonna take over to Robert's house and either try and find new storage for this stuff, like actually put in inventory, like shoes specifically, or that I will list. So, and I do have a plan in place for all of this stuff at his house, but I need to get it out of here. And then the third, is there a third? I don't know. We're gonna start with that. Okay. Okay, so I'm really gonna be working. So first up, why I have over the last year to 2 years pulled away from reselling, continue to pull away from reselling, and really don't see it as an income stream that can be reliable and that I want to pursue as something I'm dependent on. Now, a few things. It's not that I don't believe in reselling for other people. It's not that I don't believe in reselling for environmental reasons and just, finding great stuff, the treasure hunt, and being able to find new homes for it. I still think there's a time and a place for that in my life, and I'm not leaving reselling. But I think, it's coming up on, I think I hit 7 years in July as a reseller, and I have spent a lot of time doing it. It has not been convenient for me. It has been a lot of work. If I remember doing a video where I calculated like how much I was making per hour approximately, and it was not great. It was not that much higher than minimum wage in California. And while I think there are advantages of being self-employed, and I will probably remain self-employed for the foreseeable future, it is exhausting to constantly, well, it's exhausting, and there are aspects of self-employed life that I don't really care for. So when I first started reselling, I was watching, it was kind of the beginning, I think, of Poshmark people sharing their journeys. I want to say Poshmark had been around for a few years when I started, and it had almost like a cult-like following. It wasn't like creepy, but it was like everyone was very pro Poshmark. And one of the reasons I jumped on YouTube was because I saw flaws with Poshmark almost immediately. I still see flaws with Poshmark, but I think I've just become a little bit more numb to them. And also I respect that they are not just catering to me and my wishes and my beliefs, they are catering to a massive people. And so I guess I'm like less critical now of Poshmark, partly because I'm not as dependent on it, but also because I don't care as much, because it's not impacting my life as much. But when I was new, it was like everyone was saying just such amazing things about Poshmark, and you were seeing people that were just killing it, like 6-figure incomes just on Poshmark alone. And And it was just this like culture of fun, but also kind of creepy, at least to me. And I started this YouTube channel so I could show a little bit more of not that they weren't being real and authentic, but I felt like there was missing stories, missing components. Like, it's okay to bash Poshmark at times, just like I think it's okay to be critical of me at times, just as I think it's important to be critical of anything at times. I think it's okay to like something and still sometimes be critical of it. And I just didn't see a lot of criticism. And so I wanted to create like an authentic space where I'm like, I'm going to share some of the good, but I'm also going to share some of the not so good things. And that has continued. I've been consistent with that on this YouTube channel, and I will be consistent with that concept on this YouTube channel because it's important for me. Some people don't want to live, they want to live in just this happy place and they don't like any criticism, so be it. I think, speaking out and being honest and not portraying this unrealistic image of what Poshmark can be is really important, because I do think at the beginning of my journey as a reseller, I felt kind of duped when I realized, this isn't as easy as they are portraying it. It's not as neat and tidy as they are portraying it. It is not that perfect. Like, for me, again, I'm speaking on behalf of me. But over the years, specifically in the last 2 to 3 years, when I decided to get my real estate license, coming out of 2020, COVID stuff, and just that whole hardship of being self-employed, not being able to go out and thrift for a period of time, constantly, adjusting your business to try and make ends meet, and sharing my journey along the way, I realized I don't want to hate this. I like thrifting. I like reselling. I like learning about new brands. I like sharing the good and the bad of what I'm doing and have learned. But I don't want to get to the place where I'm so resentful towards reselling or dependent on reselling, because for me, it is so inconsistent. And there are a lot of different things you can do in reselling, and I have not done all of it. And I don't want to ever portray that there can't be really great paths in reselling. But probably the biggest turning point for me of understanding, I did not want some big YouTube channel. I did not want to do this full time. And I really started getting this really gross feeling about it was when I started becoming more chatty with some other YouTubers and realizing that some of the image portrayed out there is not honest and authentic, and it gives a false sense of hope to people. And I'm not saying that's every YouTuber. There are some great, honest YouTubers out there in the reselling space, but there are definitely some that with fun editing powers and just full-on made-up things, it can portray this image that is unrealistic and unattainable by most people that want to enter this space. It is a hard job. It is also very hard to stay motivated. It is, the work-life balance is really hard to maintain. I know a lot of people like me having multiple things that I'm juggling right now. It's nice that I can just like jump into reselling when I need and not do reselling when I don't have time. And I know some people are like, oh, you have to be so consistent. You could just be what you need to be and what you can be and just call it a day. But I think that gave me an impression of, I don't like where this space is headed. I don't like that, to make great YouTube content, I constantly have to have some epic finds, because half the time I go thrifting, it's not an epic day. More than half the time, it's not an epic day. I'm happy to get some bread and butter items and pay for my 5-hour round trip to LA to go thrifting. I also just got tired of that. I got tired of waking up early, going thrifting for 10 hours, 8 hours, whatever, coming home late at night. I got tired. Now, I've always said, maybe if I lived in a different place, maybe I could do things differently. And I could do different things as a reseller, like get wholesale boxes or go an Amazon route or something like that. But that never interested me. And so I learned that what I enjoyed doing, I was not going to enjoy it if I was dependent on that money. when I got into real estate, it was like, maybe I can do this and resell and have balance, and do YouTube and have balance. And I think I've done a pretty decent job of that in the last couple of years. But it has very quickly led me to realize that the amount of work I put into real estate, while a lot, and there's a lot of showings and conversations and meetings that I have with random people that never end up buying anything and I don't get paid a dime, when I look at the total amount I'm spending on that and the payout, it's night and day compared to reselling. And that's not for everyone. I know plenty of real estate agents who don't make a dime and just spend a whole bunch on the fees that we have to pay annually because they don't have access to leads. And I didn't know if I was going to have access to leads, but it's somewhat working out as a good part-time thing, opportunity for me. And I enjoy it. I enjoy helping people with the home buying experience because I bought this, on my own 8 years ago, and it was, an interesting experience. So first and foremost, are there people out there who are honestly killing it in reselling? I guarantee it. Most of them, I would say, at least when I went to eBay conferences in person and I met with people, most of them don't even have social media accounts. They're not pushing it out into faces. They're just working hard and they're making money doing it. And some of them have some really interesting niches. I've talked about this before. I met someone who sold tires on eBay and they had a killing. Like they had a huge business. And I can't remember the details, but I want to say like they had a brick and mortar tire store and then they decided to try and expand. And it was just fascinating. Like I would have never guessed that like that is also a reseller. Like, I don't know. It was just, I think I always enjoyed hearing that it's not just about fashion. It's not just about, Amazon storefronts and stuff like that, that there's a lot of different types of resellers out there. And so there are people that are doing well. But I was constantly frustrated with what was being portrayed on social media, the unrealistic side of it. And I do think there are some people that talk about the truth of like, it is a hard job. But if you like thrifting and you like the shopping, but you don't like the photos and you don't like the inventory and you don't like the shipping, which I think there's a lot of people that get into reselling and they like the shopping part, but they don't like the other stuff. It's heartbreaking to see how many people try this, invest their money, invest their time, and then end up, I'm getting out because it's not worth it to me anymore. And I think part of that is because there's not enough honesty about really what it's like and realistically what most people make per hour, per moment of every day that they're working. And so for me, a couple years ago, I scaled back. 3 years ago, I started scaling back and looking for other opportunities. I will have always said this. I will always be a reseller in some way, shape, or form, but I don't want this. I'm downsizing. By the way, like I'm accepting some crazy offers. I've been sending out some crazy offers, a lot of old stuff on Poshmark and eBay, Poshmark specifically because it's easy to send offers, but I am moving stuff because at the end of the day, I know this isn't sustainable for me, and I know it hasn't been sustainable. I don't like clutter. I don't want to live in chaos, and I want to scale back to where what I'm really realistically doing now, and some people ask like, oh, how much do you resell? Realistically, I list 10 to 20 items a week, closer to 10 most of the time. And I'm fine with that because I have been a part-time reseller now for a few years and I don't thrift as much anymore. And I have found that that is the capacity that I have. And that is the direction I feel comfortable going in. So that is kind of the highlight of this. I think going into the next topic of Poshmark changes, I think that's the other component of what also frustrated me, which is these platforms have big operations, Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, Depop, Facebook Marketplace, you name it, whatever the platform. They are a business. They are doing what's best for them. Mind you, they might say, we're doing this for sellers and we're doing this for our buyers and we're, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, they're looking at their profit and the money they're making. And you have to make money as a business. They're not nonprofits or not-for-profits. They need to make money, especially if they're publicly traded. So I think that has been hard over the years, seeing some of the changes. Specifically, the biggest change that I think really affected me and my positivity towards reselling in the future was live selling. I don't believe in it. I don't knock people for doing it. Like, please go and make a killing if you're making a killing there. But me as a shopper, I am impulsive. I have a hard time. I do grocery pickup because just the other day I went into Walmart, and I always do grocery pickup, and I took a picture and I sent it to Robert. And I was like, this is why I don't come into grocery stores. Because I just how did I fill up a cart and I haven't even gotten the stuff I came in for? I don't need to watch live selling as a buyer because I'm going to buy stuff that I don't need. And so it's a personal thing of why I don't like live selling is I think it's not suited for a personality like me. I think it can feed into the addiction of shopping. And I think as resellers, we're trying to be more mindful of, not over consumption, not doing the fast fashion. And while it's not fast fashion, I think for the majority, it's used items. It's still moving stuff, transporting stuff that maybe isn't really actually needed. And again, it's just my own personal distaste for it as a buyer that forced me to recognize because in the early days, I had these companies reaching out to me, wanting to sponsor my videos. Lots of money in the early days of live selling. And I flat out said no every single time. Every single time. I think the last request I got from my management company who manages all my sponsorships was like 6 months ago. And I was like, no, the answer is still no. I don't believe in it. I don't want to do it. But what that did was that led me to realize maybe the future of reselling is going that direction, and maybe I'm going this direction. And I think I can still resell this direction, but it might be going this way, and I might be going on the downhill. So, and I'm not saying this to anyone saying like, you have to be live seller or you're bad if you're a live seller. It's not any of that. It's again, we can shape the reselling business that we want. And that was something I very much did not want. And yeah, but that goes into like some of the changes that they make, like the fee structure. I'm still going to sell on Poshmark. So if you don't know, I will link a Poshmark blog post down below. Poshmark is updating their fee structure. I think it's live today. So they used to always do the 20% of fees, and it was pretty high, but also like they deal with all the returns. I don't have to figure out shipping stuff. They make it very entry level easy. One of my biggest complaints with Poshmark is that they don't give me the flexibility I want to do things that I can do on eBay. But in the beginning, Poshmark was so great because, sorry, this is probably loud. It was so great because I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't have a scale. I didn't want to think about that stuff. So it was so great to get into reselling on Poshmark because they made it so easy. It's still going to be easy. They're just the fee structure, and I don't even want to explain it because honestly, I don't even think I fully understand it. And from the numbers I've run on my own items, it looks like I might have a slightly less fees. So I might have slightly more paid out to me per item. But also, I think I gave up hope on Poshmark a long time ago of being something that I was going to invest a lot of my own feelings and thoughts in. Like, it's been so imperfect for me. The fact that they still require sharing, even with all of this stuff, is just mind-boggling to me. But whatever. So it's not a bash Poshmark video. I'm still going to sell there. I still think there's an audience there. Now, will this fee structure that's now going to start charging buyers a little bit more and split the fees with them, is that going to force buyers elsewhere? I don't know. Again, I'm not on Poshmark's team. They've never asked me for my opinion. They have asked for some sponsorships, which I've declined, but they've never asked for my opinion. And I've shared my opinion on here because, again, I think people need to, reflect on not just everything pro Poshmark, but it's okay to question them and be critical of them at times. But they don't care about my opinion. They're going to do what's best for them. And also, I don't have all the data that I think is necessary to know why they're making certain decisions. So anyways, I think for me, I like having two platforms because if one platform starts tanking, I still have my stuff listed on another platform. I have been a 2-platform reseller since it's been 7 years. No, it's been almost 7 years. I started reselling on Poshmark in July. I started on eBay that December. So it was 5 months of just Poshmark only. And then since then it's been eBay and Poshmark. And I've made a lot of videos where I've talked about I've talked about the subject. I don't know if I've done any direct videos of me talking about how I got on eBay, like how I figured out the shipping chaos. And like now I don't even think about it. I could do it in my sleep, but I know in the beginning it was hard and it was complicated. So if you can get over that hump, I think if you're only on one platform, I don't think it hurts to get on one more, but you could also jump on Mercari. You could jump on, Depop if that's your vibe. I don't think eBay is the only one. And I think all of them, honestly, have pros and cons. Like, if I had to pick one and only could resell on one, I would probably pick eBay because I figured it out now and I've got way more flexibility of what I want to do. But I also think, oh my gosh, I've had these pillows since my San Francisco apartment, and I'm keeping this futon and taking it to Robert's house, but not today. But these pillows, they're like, I don't know if you can see, they're like pilled, and I probably had them in San Francisco for probably almost the 9 years I've had these pillows for probably 15 years. They need to go. I don't know why I'm putting them in the hanger bag because the hangers are not going, but just for now. I just need to get this stuff down my ladder, and that seems like an appropriate amount of stuff in that bag. So I think that, for me, eBay, once I got past the learning phase and the making mistakes phase, it has been my preferred platform. But Poshmark is where I started, and Poshmark has, that's what I was saying, the pros and cons. Poshmark has pros and cons. eBay definitely has pros and cons. And I've never wanted to ever portray that like one is perfect and the other is flawed. They're both flawed for sure. But again, I mean, it's just like anything. Like, is there anything in life that isn't flawed? I don't know of anything. So yeah, I mean, if I could go back and tell myself, hey, Courtney, I feel like I should start working on shoes since those, I'm not sure how I'm going to tackle shoes. I'm going to definitely put them in this bag, but some of the shoes I don't want to get ruined, getting scuffed. So I think I'm going to use my little bags down here to wrap certain ones so I don't, whatever. Honestly, I might stop selling shoes completely. Honestly, shoes are probably the thing that, like, we may as well say you could send me a 75% off offer on any shoes and I would accept, because that's how desperately I want to get rid of shoes. Because I don't see a place, I've never liked storing shoes. I don't find them as much, so I can't just be a shoe reseller where I really improve. Anyways, so I'm going to get rid of these racks and I'll just move over here. And I'll bring my little basket of little bags with me. Yeah, shoes is the one thing that I think I'm giving up in my reselling space. I'm still going to continue to do shoes. My mom occasionally finds hard goods that I can list on eBay that are more valuable than her antique booth. But I think shoes, I'm just going to call it and make it a statement. I'm going to no longer pick up shoes, and I'm going to get rid of these. Like, these will either be donated or sold in the next 2 months because I'm so done with shoes. Anyways, but hey, there's a lot of great shoe resellers out there that make a killing. So I think pros, I'm not going to speak to any other platform out there as far as, is my mic going? I really hope the bag noises aren't too bad for you all. These are my size. I might wear these. They're Kate Spade. They have one little missing thing. There's some things that are my size that I'm like, I could maybe wear them, but then also I don't know, whatever. So if I were to go back and tell myself, this is why Chatty work with me's are so hard. It is so hard to stay focused. I would say that if I knew 8 years ago that you're going to start this reselling journey part-time, I was working full-time, commuting 3 hours each way, 5 days a week. This was pre-COVID. And I was just doing it because I didn't have a life here. I didn't have friends. It was hard to meet people. And And I kind of got the bug, like a lot of us do. If I could go back and tell myself like, hey, you're going to do this, you know, this in YouTube, you're going to leave your job in a year. Cause I think I left my job after a year of reselling, maybe less. I think it was about a year, whatever. And you're going to kind of be full-time with YouTube for a couple years. And then COVID's going to hit and, you know, everything's going to get all weird with being a reseller and trying to navigate that. And then you're going to kind of start getting burnt out and questioning everything. And then you're going to get your real estate license and see if maybe that, like, you could do all three. And then you realize you really just don't have any good work-life balance. And you're going to get to the point where you're just like, I'm just ready to give up all the shoes. And I'm just ready to go from, I think I'm at 700 inventory. I'm ready to get down to 300 inventory. And I'm going to make that happen by the end of this year. And I'm still going to keep reselling, but it's going to be for enjoyment. And if I can make a little money doing it, great. But I'm not going to stress myself out over, I have to have these crazy hauls and I have to have these big bins hauls and go blood, sweat, and tears at the bins. I'm tired. And someone actually asked me, I can't remember, it was a somewhat recent video. They said, I feel like a lot of the old YouTubers, which I know they weren't being offensive to me, but like, I get it. I've been on YouTube for a while now with reselling. And I would say never compare a YouTuber that's only been on there for a year to someone who's been on there for more than 5, because it's hard making content for a long time. And I still enjoy it and sharing my experience. But they asked me, like, I see less and less of them making consistent content, or some of them don't even make content anymore, videos anymore. And is there something wrong? I can't speak on behalf of any other reseller on YouTube. I can say that life happens, you know. My life is changing, and I'm using this change as a way to bring down my reselling business to where I need it to be moving forward for me. And does it mean I'm going to have, my best videos have always been like huge bins hauls and stuff like that. I don't care. If I have 10 people watching my videos because they understand that my reselling business is going to evolve and change, and that's okay. It doesn't make me a bad reseller. I'm still a reseller, and I'm showing the real side of it, which is I'm not here for the clicks. I'm not here trying to be something that's going to make me unhappy. I'm just trying to show a real side of my reselling journey and how I want it to continue. And I do want it to continue, but it's going to look different. And it's going to be what I need, not what video clicks need, or what I think resellers need to be like, or make more money, or all of this stuff. And I think if I could go back and tell myself, it would be, I don't think I'd go back, and I don't regret anything, but I am proud of staying true to myself. And it is a fascinating phenomenon to launch something. I think I launched the YouTube channel like 4 months into reselling, when I was still learning and still sharing stuff that I didn't even know. And I had so many people sharing their thoughts and feelings with me. And I some of it was good and most of it was, but I am so happy about this journey, but it's got to go a different direction. And again, I've been setting myself up for this now for a bit. So it's not, to me, it's not a shock or a surprise. To me, it's time for a change. I've thought about things like, is there a type of reselling that I can do that, and maybe this is like why I started going the direction of buying things in a size that I believed in, also that I could wear, if I'm going to be reselling less, I can niche down a little bit more to something that I have a hard time finding in LA, things my size. I find a lot of smalls, I find a lot of mediums, I find a lot of extra smalls. I don't find as many things in the large, extra large area. And I thought, well, that would really help me minimize what I'm bringing home if I just focus on that. And I also think there's an audience for it. I don't know what the average size woman in the US is right now, but last time I checked, it was like a 14 or something around there. So that was one of the directions I went a few months ago as a way for me to focus more in thrift stores. I don't think anyone else needs to do that. Like sometimes it's hard because I'll see something and it's like, oh, what am I missing in these other sizes when I'm not looking in those sizes? But at the end of the day, I am doing what I think is best for me and right for my future. So let's see, I have 15 more minutes and then I get to jump into personal stuff, and I will stick to reselling topics because why don't I want to do chatty workspaces anymore? I probably haven't done one. I don't know. I don't remember the last time I did one, maybe 6 months ago. They're hard to film. They're like very easy to edit, but they're hard to film. And I think some people, they just want, what are the brands you're picking up? What are you selling? And they just want to stick to that. This channel has never been a teaching channel. I've never portrayed that. I've just been sharing my reselling journey. I'm not here to tell you how to be a reseller. I'm here to tell you how I am a reseller. And if you learn something from that, hopefully that's helpful. If you learn that how I do things is not how you want to do things, hopefully that's helpful. Like, I never wanted to come on and teach people because I think this is a learn by doing kind of job. Sure, you can learn brands by seeing people, show different brands. At the end of the day, the way I've learned the most of my brands is by looking them up on my phone while I'm out thrifting or at the bins, and because they're right in front of me and those are brands I have access to. So I think that, for me on YouTube, it's been a journey of sharing lots of feedback from people on the internet. Some people I see the names and I'm like, wow, I've seen that name since the very beginning, which is wild to me. Partly because I'm like, are they still reselling? Or are they just bored with watching me? But like, that's kind of where I was starting to feel with the chatty work with me's. I felt like they were getting boring. I felt like I had this pressure to make them often and I didn't have the topics to fill up the space. And so I just felt like, no, I want to scale back. I want to do, shorter things, more just to the point of what I'm picking up and that kind of stuff. And then I, constantly get people going, when are you going to do another chat work with me? And I get that I was doing a lot of long content. Hold please. Oh gosh. I've got to get all these down my stairs. I was doing a lot of long content because as a self-employed person who kind of gets lonely at home, I love to put someone on and not have to worry about picking something new every 10 minutes. And that was me as a reseller watching a lot of reseller content. I don't watch reselling content anymore. I shout out to all my online friends on YouTube who are resellers. Some of them are still making videos, and every once in a while, if I see one pop up, I'll click on it, leave them a comment, send them a message on Instagram, that type of thing. But I just don't watch reselling YouTube content anymore. And so then my evolution of making reselling YouTube content is I will put on things that are non-reselling while I'm reselling so that I can have some sort of distraction. I remember the beginning when I was like, there were two YouTubers, I'm not going to name them, but this was 7+ years ago on YouTube. They were Poshmark sellers. I met one of them in person. That probably was the more disappointing meeting I've ever had because whatever. I'm sure they're a very nice person. I think I had high expectations. It just didn't live up to that. But anyways, they made content and both of them probably at the time made like 2 videos a week. And I remember as a new reseller, that's all I wanted to watch. Maybe some of you are new and you're like, I can't get enough of reselling content. I'm learning, I'm excited. I can't focus on my work. All I want to do is go to thrift stores. I want to learn brands. I want to look things up. Whew, that fades. For I think the majority of people, it fades. But I remember watching those two going, why can't they put out daily videos? Like they could not put out enough content. And here I am going like, I am just at this point trying to put out 1 video a week, which there was a moment there where I was having a hard time putting out content because I lost faith in YouTube reseller content. And so then it was really hard for me to put myself on camera even though I was still confident that what I was doing was honest and true to myself, I just didn't know the direction I wanted to go. And also a lot of life changes, you know. My father passed away a couple years ago. That was really, really hard. I'm very close with my family. And when you have to go through rough things, put yourself on camera. And, you know, I've always shared things outside of my life here. I've never been just like, here's reselling. There's nothing about me, because to be perfectly honest, you just get people who ask a lot of questions about your personal life. And so then you realize like, it's just easier to sometimes include that because people are curious. I know those 2 resellers that did the Poshmark videos in my early days. I don't think either of them do YouTube videos anymore, but I remember I was craving for them to like share about their personal life because I was so fascinated by them. Like I was watching them multiple times a week and I was learning so much from them. And I was like, does she have a boyfriend? Is she dating anyone? Like I was so curious. I'm still curious about some people, not resellers, but like just some people online. So I've always had this balance of trying to primarily focus on reselling and then interject some things in my life. But it is, you know, father passing, a year later, I got an adopted pup who had parvo. That was just really hard. Last over a year has been this really great relationship, best relationship I've ever had, and not wanting to put that on display. I've showed him a couple times because I'm proud of him. I'm proud of us. But I also don't, it's not the core of my channel and he's not a reseller. And I like having some boundaries in life in general. I'm pretty hardcore on boundaries, but yeah, I think it is with reselling and YouTube, either or, and most things in life, it is hard to keep doing the same thing over and over and not experience burnout, not question your life and your future and your direction. And, you know, if you are new to reselling, I hope you're just as excited as I was in the beginning. That first year was pure bliss. It was just so much fun. I was spending a lot of time with my mom because we were doing a lot of thrifting together. And it was so great. And we still thrift, but not as much together anymore. Partly because I don't go to the bins anymore for the most part. And that's where we kind of used to go because they had hard goods and clothing. But, you know, it's just been this journey. And I'm excited for anyone to start that journey or continue that journey. But the changes with platforms and then the changes you have to make to your business to keep up with platforms and the moments of burnout and real life happening, I applaud anyone, and there are plenty of resellers out there that have been reselling for much longer than I have. I applaud anyone who can continue to do it with the enthusiasm that they had their first year. Because in my experience, it is tough. And I applaud anyone for putting in the work because it is, you know, more than likely your expectations are up here and you have, you know, good weeks where you're finding like, oh my gosh, I had the best thrift haul of my life. And then you have those weeks where you're like, I have not found anything good that excites me in 2 months. And I keep trying, I keep going and, you know, my sales are down and, you know, I don't know if it's worth anymore. There's just this, it's a roller coaster. I've said this before. Many people have said it. It's not exclusive to me. It is an extreme roller coaster of emotions. And that is the core of, man, the inconsistency, the stress, for me, got to the point where it was outweighing the benefits. So how can I get back to focusing on what do I enjoy? I enjoy finding some treasures. I enjoy finding new homes for them, maybe a few for myself. I enjoy parts of the community. You know, eBay Open was my favorite thing. It was before COVID. I would go to Vegas. I went to Vegas twice. And it was my favorite thing. I went to the LA one when it was like right after COVID and or a couple years after COVID. And I went to that one. That one wasn't as fun, but it was still good. It was just, I do like certain parts, but some of the false images on YouTube is discouraging. And I don't want to contribute to that. I just want to live my life and work hard and try and pay my bills. And I feel like that's what most of us are trying to do. So what does it look like? So I think I mentioned I've got like 5 minutes left of reselling chat. And I won't say I'll never do another chatty work with me, but it would be hard pressed. I also share a lot more on Instagram stories, just regular life stuff. We're doing remodeling at Robert's house. There's a chance I might create a new channel. I'm not doing my camping channel anymore. I'm letting it be there because I still make money off of some videos that still get a lot of views. But I haven't put a video up there in a long time. And it's not because I'm not camping. It's because I don't want to film camping with Robert when we're getting away and enjoying life. But there might be a chance that I might create another channel and share more of my behind the scenes life, non-reselling. I think I started that originally, but I think there's going to be some exciting things to share, like, remodeling specifically. So there will be more of that kind of stuff. But my future with reselling, I think it is going to be, my goal by the end of this year is to be at 300 inventory. I would rather donate bags of stuff. I'm not donating all of this. These are not all donate bags. Some of this stuff is whatever. I'd rather donate stuff. The time to ship, like I had that sale a couple months ago where I did 5 for $25. If you missed it, I'm sorry. It's long gone. And it was anything under $20 or $25. I did so much work for that shipping, and it was like I was getting, $2 an item. I wasn't even getting my money back for most of those items. So I am going to do some heavy discounts the next couple months, the next few months, and I'm going to try and sell as much of my inventory while still somewhat making some money to pay for the time to ship. But I want to get down to 300 inventory, and I want to get to the place where I'm going to LA, thrifting a couple times a month. It's a fun thing. It's low expectation. If I find some stuff and I buy it, great. If I have a bad thrift day and I'm showing you all the flawed items and all that stuff, then that's going to be that type of thing. Try new thrift stores, show you different parts of LA. And that, I think, is probably the direction I'm going to go. I'm still going to try and do 1 video a week here. It's probably not going to be a lot of this kind of stuff. Again, I just wanted to get a video up this week, and this is what I'm currently working on. I do have a lot. There's no video I think that I have up, and I would say 99% of the videos I've filmed are still up on my channel. There's no video that I regret, or probably I would say anything different. So if you want some of the videos where I talk about certain things, you can search. I think I've got some playlists. So there's more informational stuff, but I think moving forward, it's going to be the enjoyment of thrifting. And hey, if I can find some stuff to resell, that's also the goal, to hopefully pay for the gas money and the time to, just list them and that kind of stuff. But it's not going to be all consuming, making me feel like I'm not a good enough reseller, making me feel like I'm not doing enough, making me feel like I'm living in utter chaos. I just want to find the joy again. And I've really done a lot the last couple years specifically, but definitely the last few months of really getting into the right headspace of what will make me happy, and focus on that. Be honest, be truthful, work hard, but also work-life balance. I almost never work on weekends anymore because Robert's schedule, he doesn't have work on weekends, which is great for me. Like, it's just been, I had a great life before Robert. I don't think relationships are the end all be all, but I am happy to find a partner who allows me to be me and allows me to pursue what I want and supports that and encourages that, but also he's not work. And I know some people are like, oh, well, you're still in the honeymoon phase. I'll get to that in a second. I read some article that was like 90% of relationships end before the first year. So I feel like we're doing okay being past the first year. And I also am not someone who feels like I need to be in relationships. The amount of countries I've been to solo, the amount of times I've moved and done things solo, not in relationships, that has never been the place in my life where I'm going to stop living because I don't have someone. But I do like the fact that I have some work-life balance, better work-life balance because of him. And I did not have that with most of my reselling journey. And, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay not listing every day. I'm okay not listing multiple days in a row. I'm okay just doing what I can do and just trying my absolute best. So the timer's gonna go off. If you guys, I will try to get to questions about resell, anything down below. I'm trying to be better on comments and messages on Instagram. But at least for the first couple weeks after a video. So if there's anything I missed or, you know, started talking about and didn't finish, feel free to leave them below and I will try to respond publicly, because obviously other people might have those questions. But for now, this might be the last video in this house, and this might be the last Chatty work with me. The other thing is there were people that were starting to copy things. That's always bothered me on YouTube. The only thing that I think every reseller consistently does is thrift hauls and thrift with me's. But when people come up with original ideas and then people just go out and copy and don't give credit, and it's always bothered me. And so then it's like, it no longer becomes original or feels original and interesting. So that's one of the reasons why, one of the many reasons why this might be the last Chatty work with me. But on that note, I need to take a sip of water, take a chill pill, and tell you about personal life updates. So let's do that. There we go. I came down here to bring some bags and I'm out of breath. Anyways, so this is just gonna be moving update. If you did not see the video where I shared I was moving out of my house, it was about a month ago, and not one point in that video did I ask for advice on my personal changes. But of course, I've learned with YouTube that people will give their opinion on things regardless if you ask. And I think it took me a while to wrap my brain around how discouraging it was to read so many comments of people who just, it almost felt like had no faith in anything. So I thought I would just, you know, quickly hop on and say, A, I'm moving out of my house. I'm moving in with Robert. I'm pretty much already moved with the exception of some reselling stuff. And at the time in that video, I said I didn't know if I was going to sell my house, rent it, Airbnb it, all of that stuff, which is like 5% of the information someone would need to know. The only reason I was sharing that was because I was going to start filming in a new place, and it will be under construction and it will be kind of a hodgepodge, but I am trying my best. So, but things I did not share in that video is how much equity do I have in my house? What's my monthly payment on everything, including homeowners insurance, which has skyrocketed in California, taxes, utilities, home maintenance costs each year. I didn't talk about the rental market in Tehachapi. I didn't talk about the Airbnb market in Tehachapi and what percentage that is. So there's a lot of factors that go into making decisions. And I think one thing that was so shocking was just the amount of people going, a couple things, common things I read. You should never move in with a man until you have a ring on it. Who said I ever wanted a ring? First and foremost, I'm not a very traditional person. And I don't knock people for having different wants and needs, but I never grew up. I have two parents who were married 46 years until my dad passed. They knew each other for 3 months before their wedding day. It was not an arranged marriage. They just, you know, probably went impulsively like a lot of people do into, you know, that kind of decision. And I grew up in a happy home. There's no divorces in my extended family. And I've been lucky to have dated a number of guys as an adult. I'm 42, never married, but I've had the great opportunity to have met some really great guys in life. And while I know there's some bad guys out there, I am very aware of that. I have really set myself up with, I don't need to be in a relationship to be happy. I will live my life. And if I find someone great, if they make my life great or better, great. If it starts going downhill and it's no longer great, then I'd rather end something at 2 months than be stuck with them, you know, for 10 years. So I am not a huge relationship person, but I've had some really great ones and I'm very thankful for that. But I'm aware that there's a lot of terrible things that have happened, but to read all these comments where it was like, you know, you can't trust men, you know, it's probably not going to work out. My friend, someone said their friend moved in with their boyfriend and then she sold her house and then, you know, they broke up and she was left with nothing. And I'm like, what'd she do with her money? Did she not have any equity? Did she not invest that? Did she not put that in the savings? I don't know their circumstances, but one thing's for sure. I would not share all of these details with you for various reasons of what arrangement do we have with me moving into his house? What legal contracts will we have with me moving into my house? What am I doing with my equity that is mine and mine only? all of this stuff I would not share on YouTube. And all of that is a huge factor. Before you make a suggestion to someone that's impulsive and emotional, would need to be factored in before making a recommendation. And while I think it all came from mostly caring people who just have seen the worst case scenarios, there's a lot of best case scenarios out there. My parents are an example of that. If someone saw them get married 3 months after the day they met, and they had a 9-year age difference, and if someone saw them and said, what do you think the odds are that they're going to work out? They probably were pretty slim. But I have plenty of friends who've gotten married, gotten divorced, did everything right in all the right order. There's no guarantee in life. And I think the one thing I hope anyone watching this channel, either just today or for any length of time since I've been online, knows is that I'm very well thought out. I am an impulsive person, but that has changed over the years. I've become less and less impulsive, but I am not impulsive when it comes to major life decisions. I'm very strategic. I'm very calculated with okay, what factors do I need to think about? What is going to be the best thing for me? I took so many women's studies classes, and I'm fascinated by the history of women. And I'm very, very, very pro women having options and looking out for themselves. I'm also okay with being in a really healthy relationship, and at some point in life, it is worth taking chances. So I am selling my house. And that was the other thing. That was probably the number one thing I got was like, if you're so emotional about this, you shouldn't. You know what I'm emotional about is it's like any big life change. You just get very reflective. I am a very sentimental person to a fault. Like since I was a kid, like kids who, they have their blankies and they don't want to get rid of them. I swear, out of my sisters and I think I'm the most sentimental, the hardest hit when it comes to losing something that I care deeply about. And a house is I never in my wildest dreams thought I was going to buy a house. When I was living up in San Francisco and houses there are not affordable, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be a homeowner and find a cool home that I would put money into for almost 8 years and make it my own and have memories. And how could someone not be emotional about that? It's not for fear of the future. It's for reflection on, wow, look at this crazy thing that I did. And also, yeah, there is, a change. And I think anytime there's a change, there's an unknown component. Again, it's not Robert. I've only lived with one guy, and that was a long time ago, and it worked out great. The only reason it didn't work out in the long run, one, we were young. I was probably 21 or 22, but he had a job change from where we lived in Monterey, California. He was moving to Germany. And, when you're that age and you're living with someone and they get a job change, it's kind of like, I wasn't ready for marriage at that time. And I may still not be ready for marriage. Well, who cares? You guys wouldn't even know, because honestly, I'm not a big ring person, a ring like that type of person. No shade to anyone who is. Most people are. But so again, I don't share every detail of my life, but I was sharing that I'm making this life change that will impact where I film. And I know I'm going to get questions, so I'm just being transparent because I do share parts of my life here. But I was so saddened by just the amount of comments that weren't like, wow, so great for you and Robert. There were a few of those, but the majority being, it's not going to work out. Don't sell your house. You're emotional for a reason. I've always shared emotion online because I think it's important to be human. But it was overwhelming. And I feel like it wasn't like I couldn't take it. In fact, I probably had some sassy remarks to some of them. And I also just removed some of them because they were just so out of line and out of character with the point and what I was trying to share, which is I'm moving. Again, I'm not going to go into some breakdown of the rental market here, the Airbnb market. When people say, oh, I've got this much on my loan left, well, how much interest do you have left into the life of your loan? As someone who's now in real estate and is much more aware of kind of the nuances of it, can real estate be a good investment? Sure. Can it also be a risky investment? Sure. Are there other investment opportunities out there for equity if you have it? Absolutely. Do I have a financial advisor? Absolutely. Do I take my numbers to them and say what is best for me and my future and my security? yes, those are the things I do. But it was like this happy thing in my life. And I can't wrap my brain around why being emotionally impacted by a huge life change is like all of a sudden like this negative thing. Anyways, I have had time to start moving, and I haven't slept at this house in probably at least a month. Robert, I know someone said, well, I think you're sacrificing too much and he's not sacrificing enough. Again, what have I shared that he's sacrificing? Like, I guess it was such like I went immediately to all these movies where it's like the characters are like living this terrible life and trying to pull her bootstraps up and, survive this terrible relationship. I'm like, why is everyone assuming the absolute worst? But I get it. I get that it's not all great relationships out there. And I am sad for anyone who has had those terrible relationships. But right now it is a very good thing. Robert is a great guy. He hasn't made too many appearances here. He probably won't make too many appearances in general because he's busy. And when I spend time with him, I don't really want to be filming. But we have lots of exciting things in our future. And the moving component, it was not impulsive. It was one that was well thought out. It was one that was very planned and intentional. And it doesn't change the fact that I have memories here. And that's okay. It doesn't take away from the memories in my future. And, I said this in a number of responses to comments. Every time I've moved, I've been emotional. Because it wasn't like I was moving and running away from something. I'm just moving towards something, but towards something that I'm like, I don't know what to expect. And I've never been that person to stay in life of just keep doing the same thing over and over. I need change. I thrive on change. Change can still be scary, and I'm not afraid of the scariness of life. Scary, not in a bad way, but scary of the unknown and just not know what to expect. So I'm excited. I have had so much done in the last couple of weeks at my house. I'm probably going to be my own worst real estate client. But also I know the nuances. I'm trying to prepare this as much as possible that I would want as a buyer. And I'm getting photos done on Monday. I needed to set some deadlines so that I just kind of got some stuff rolling. So yeah, a lot's happening right now, and it's exciting, and I'm so excited that someone else is going to be able to take this house. And trust me when I say I live in a beautiful place. I go to beautiful places. Robert, his house has some great views as well, and we talk about this stuff all the time. My view, I absolutely love. Is it the only view that I'm ever going to have in life? No. And also I think, a component that I also think I said at one point to someone on a comment was, I've been evacuated from this house twice. Most recently was a couple months ago for fire reasons. And each time I left thinking I might not come back to a house. And gosh, how devastating that would be. Like, there's nothing quite like that feeling and I know there's other people out there. I'm so sorry to anyone that's been impacted by the hurricane, because I'm watching that going like, it's just devastating. But I have had those moments where it's just a house. My stuff is just stuff. What is replaceable? All of this stuff is replaceable. My family is not. My friends, the things that matter most in my life are not objects. So I don't know how to portray it. And I don't know how anyone could not make a change like this and not reflect and go, yeah, it's incredible where I've come, what I've done. Like, even as a reseller, I'm like, wow, I have this nuanced life where I've kind of built this self-employed life. And I would have never predicted that when I was up in San Francisco working 80 hours a week for a startup, not happy, thinking, wow, this is what I thought I wanted and this is not what I want. I would have never predicted any of this. And yet here we are. Like, it was so wild to me to think, what could life be like in 5 years? I can't even fathom, but I'm excited about it because I know a lot can change in 5 years. And so anyways, be emotional about things and don't feel bad about it. And it's not always a bad sign. Sure, I do believe in trusting your gut, but I also believe that change can be a really good thing, even if it's the unknown is scary and you know, change can be hard. I mean, even when you just start going to a new thrift store, it can be hard. You're like, I don't know these sections. I don't know if they have any good product. I don't know the employees. I don't know like the regulars, if that's a reseller. That change is hard, you know, and some people are fine just doing their same thing. I'm not. I've always thrived in change, but it doesn't mean it's easy. So anyways, dogs are happy. They haven't been here in probably a month. The wildlife loves it because all the wildlife is like now not scared by my dogs barking at the fence. But one of my neighbors knows. I haven't told my other neighbors yet. But it's a lot. It's a lot to like move and list a house, and especially when you're an agent, it's probably terrible. I should just pay an agent to deal with this. But it's not a bad thing. And I encourage anyone to really reflect on all the details before making big life decisions, because real estate is not always the best investment. And know your numbers, because it is way more complicated than many people realize. And I am very happy to have a plan. I have great friends and family, a lot of people I go to, and also professionals who are really helping me make the best decision for me. And this home will forever be a happy memory. And that's all I could ask. So on that note, that is my personal update. Be sure to hit the thumbs up if you liked this chatty work with me. I will be back with probably a thrift with me next week. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you're all having a good beginning of the fall season. Bye.